Hi class. So today we're going to learn about sweep and we're going to use a watering can as an example to sweep. So I have an image downloaded which I will share with you to create this water can. First, I'm going to go to my front plane to actually insert the image so we can all talk about it. Once we are in the sketch mode, we're going to go under Tools, Sketch Tools, and Sketch Picture, and the side view of this water can and bring it in. As you can see, it shows up at a certain size. I don't know how big it is. So when we see these dotted lines, that means it's in an editable mode. We can move it around. And when we press check, it actually comes out of the editing mode. So first let's talk about this. The center part we're going to make with a revolve, and as you can see it's hollow inside and it has an opening. So we definitely want to shell before we cut this opening. And let's talk about this portion and this portion. They look like they're the same material, so same diameter, and it's most likely hollow all throughout. So in modeling, to do the fastest way, we can come in, create this as a solid, leave this to the last step, create this piece also as a solid with a sweep, and then shell everything based on that opening on the tip. And then once everything's shelled with the same bolt like this, we can come in and cut the top. So let's go ahead and first resize this to the correct piece. I went on my center line, creating a vertical line, and looking at this measurement is overall is 7.87 inch. Or I can type in even 20 centimeter. That's easier to write. So I'm going to write 20 cm, and it will automatically pick that, change it into the inch for me. So now that I have that, I double click on the image. Now back we're in the edit mode. So I can center this here and resize based on my measurement. You can see this is slightly curved on the bottom because we're not looking at a perfect side view. Maybe this needs to be slightly larger. One thing I can use as a trick, kind of use my measuring line to check the tip. So I'm going back in here. All right, we'll make this slightly smaller. Actually, it's slightly larger, not smaller. So when we match the top, the bottom goes in just a bit. There we go. Trying to match this side and the top. And as much as I can, eyeball the center for now. To make this image a bit transparent so we can see the rest of our model, we click on the full image and we'll put it on the 40% transparency. And we'll just use the sketch as our guide. So I'm going to come in, click and hold, and write picture. This way we won't make a mistake to go back to that. Now we'll go back to my front plane and create a new sketch. It'll show up down here on the bottom. And use that to create this base as my revolve. So one more time, using a center line. Don't think I picked the center line. Using a center line and going up, and usually the bottom of this should be flat so it can sit down. So I'm just going to use a flat line. And I can come in, add a circle to the base. It looks like a round edge down there. And I'm gonna come add a fillet to this. Let's see. All right. So first, let's try to add a circle, or you can add a center point arc, whichever is easier for you. And use the center point arc. You can see I'm just adding that piece in here. We'll need to have our measurements. Most likely it's 2.5. This is 0.1. And our height slightly going to change because we're curving that. So I'm going to wait until I do a fillet and then do my measurement. It was not going to allow me to do more, so it looks like I need to stretch this a bit more. I'm going to come in and match that to a curve up here. So let's do a fillet one more time and try to go up. This seems that's curving there. So I'm going to press check. And why should I delete this piece? Pressing delete on the keyboard by selecting that. And I'll come in and use my 3-point arc. So I know we have this and we have that. I'm just going to leave it here. And that side, that needs to be tangent to a straight line. So when we revolve, it doesn't give us an indent or a point up there. So let's set this and this to be tangent. And let's see if we can set this and this to also be tangent. All right, very nice. So now we have a very smooth arc happening here. We don't have any measurement, so we need to come in, add some measurements here. And we need to also close the sketch, as well as measuring the height. So the height is actually supposed to be 4.5. Looks like I have it slightly larger. So I'm going to change that to, it's actually 4.49. That's just a 49. All right. I just slightly moved down. Again, we're looking at the perspective, so we're not seeing it perfect. And everything's black. We're ready to revolve. Feature revolve around this. And as you can see, it's not revolving because it doesn't know between our two close paths which one to revolve. So we're going to go back here, select that contour. We're going to pick this, and we're going to fall inside when it turns red. Pick that one as well. Very good. Now we have our form. We're going to now create this piece also on the front plane. I'm going to go on my front plane. Actually, before I do that, because this base is circular, I could use a circle sweep, or I can show you guys how to create a plane up here. And if you don't want to use a circle, you can use another shape. So I'm going to pick a top plane and show you how to create a new plane parallel to the top. So my top plane is going to be a reference. I want to go under reference geometry, plane, and either here to pick the top plane or pick the top plane before I get there. So now I'm trying to basically understand where this goes inside of the body and put the plane slightly inside, not right on the edge. So I think I will stop at 4.25. It's okay if it goes farther in because everything's solid right now and we'll come in and hollow things out. So it's okay for this handle to penetrate a little bit more. So this is my sketch, my plane, and I'm going to do a sketch on it. This is a longer way of doing this just to show you guys if you had a different shape, how you would go about it rather than a circle. So I'm going to put down a circle. And so before I do this, just do a quick explanation of the thought process. So if I go to markup, the goal for a sweep is to create a sketch for the profile and then come in, create sketch on a perpendicular plane for our path. So in this case, I'm planning to go all the way through this. Sorry, I'm drawing with the mouse. And finish there, basically. I might go slightly more so I can come in and cut a nice flat edge here. And when we do a sweep, it takes this form and kind of carries it through all of that. So it carries it through this path. And because everything's solid, they'll all blend in. And once we hollow it, everything hollows out nicely. All right, now that we know the process, gonna go back to this plane one and do a sketch of a circle. Normally, we don't sketch circles because we can do that on sweep. So I do just a slight ellipse then. Let's try an ellipse. And click on this. Click on here. It's going to be a very chubby ellipse, almost a circle. Okay. I have no idea what the size is, so I'm going to press Shift and my up arrow. Okay, it looks very large compared to what it should be. Because I have no measurement and it's an ellipse, it's harder to do this. Okay, it needs to be bigger and moved up. Let's see, too small. Again, I'm holding Shift and the arrow. Okay, I think I need to measure this side at least. So I'm going to do 0.3. And I'm going to check that edge. Needs to go farther out. So if I continue that line, that looks about right. Now I can measure from this point to this point. So that will stay 1.8. And all I need is that thickness now. It can go slightly smaller. Okay. And for ellipse, you have to measure everything. So maybe 0.38. And everything is now black. So this is the form that's going to follow our path. I'm going to finish the sketch and leave it here. Now back to our front plane, we create our path sketch. So this is pretty important. With the path sketch, you want to actually make sure you connect to the center or the corner of your profile sketch so it knows what to follow. It's easier to do a center of this circle, so I'm going to use my 3-point arc tool. I'm slightly rotating, starting from the center point, and I press Control 8. My end point is gonna be end of this. Actually, I want to go farther a little bit inside. And now I can pull this out so I can match the midpoint. That looks good. All right. And I'm going to imagine there is a straight line here. And then actually I'm going to do a straight line and then fillet. Straight, an angle line, and then fillet. So let's see. I move this and move that, trying to stay in the center. I'm going slightly past, it's okay. We're gonna come in and create a flat cut. And this needs a fillet. So let's try that. Okay, that looks good. 2.25, just round it out. And we'll make sure, oh, don't want to do this. I lost my fillet here. 2.25. Okay. This needs to come in because I don't want it to be any stiffness there in the form. I see what's happening. Need to lower that. Because it's a line, they're connected and they're all tangents together. So it's pushing that. So I'm going to measure this first. Okay, 3.5 seems to be a better number for that. And maybe we'll measure. Oh, that already has a measurement. Could try the center to the origin. So to get the height. Now that turns black. And okay. All right, now that's more forgiving. I measure the rest of this, my straight line. And for the angle, you can come to a flat one and just measure the angle. As well as that. And so when you have something blue and you don't know what's missing, try to move things. Ah, see that? That should be 5.7 maybe. Maybe more. 5.5. Okay, and I'm gonna push this slightly back. So I need to measure from that point to the origin so that doesn't move anymore. Now everything's black. All right, now that we have our path and we have our profile, we're ready to sweep. And go to the features, find sweep. And first the sketch, which is profile, you can see the icon, is our ellipse. Second one automatically picked that piece, and now you can see a preview happening. Looks good. I'm gonna press OK. Now we have our handle. We need to come in and cut that, but I can't see my image anymore. In this case, we usually go to a section view. When I click my section view, it's automatically on the top plane. If it on the front plane, if it wasn't, you can switch between planes here, and you can even flip the cut. So this is only visual, it's not actually cutting the model. Now we can see the image, nice. I'm gonna come in and create a cut here. So front plane sketch, a quick box. Actually, it might be a line. So you can see I'm going to slightly measure this. Oh, that was 90. Because the cut is okay, that's going farther out. I do need to measure the origin. And maybe a length. So let's see if we can get an angle. So now that's everything's black and we'll do extrude cuts. Okay, it's only cutting on one side. We're going to change to mid-plane so it cuts on both sides. Now we can see it here. Okay, this is good. I'm going to come out of the section view. This is now the time to shell out the inside. If I hide my view, basically my sketch, by clicking this eye, and look through the section, you can see everything's solid. So now we're going to come with shell tool, and we know our opening is going to be here. I'm going to press show preview and pick this. If you don't pick it, it will still shell. It just has everything closed up. All right, this seems too thick, especially for metal. All right, maybe 2 millimeter, 2 mm. Actually, maybe 1 millimeter. All right, 1 millimeter looks pretty good. And you can see it's hollowing throughout everything. And if we do a section view, nice. So now I see this is sharp and this is sharp. So here's a trick. I needed to fillet this before I did my shell. Same thing with the top. So all I'm going to do is grab this line and go before my shell. As long as my fillets are larger than my wall thickness, I should not have an issue. So clicking on fillet, I'm going to fillet that, that, and that. And this is 0.1, so it's splitting that one too. It's too much. Just want that edge. And I might come in with a second fillet and do just slightly smaller fillet for this one. Let's do a 0.08. Maybe more, 0.06. And if, again, all of these are larger than our wall thickness, it should have no problem by the time we pull down the timeline to go through. Nice. You can see that it went through pretty smoothly. All right. All that's left to do is the cut hole on the top. So we can go back to plane one, do a sketch, and draw a circle. I'm going to use my center line from the origin to this form so I can measure, holding shift and the up arrow. Okay, I'm way off. I need to move a lot to the left. And we have a measurement. It's 1.9 inch. So 1.9. And to slightly go to the left again. Once it visually matches, then I can measure. It's probably gonna round this off too. It's 0.4. I'll do 5. And the front looks correct. The back looks slightly smaller, but we already have the measurement. So here's extrude cut. Going to the top and the bottom. It's cutting air, so it doesn't matter. And so our water can. Maybe we'll do a slight fillet on this edge. 0.01. Let's see. Nice. So we don't want to leave any sharp edges. As I mentioned that, we don't want to leave any sharp edges. Here we go. And editing that. And maybe we can add a nice yellow tone brass to this. A matte brass. We're doing it to the whole body. Right, now you have it. This is not the shiny one. Here is, it's too shiny. Great. Thank you for listening. I'll see you again.